My name is Gerry Boyle. I'm Director of Teagasc, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this year's conference on the agri-environment, which has been organised by Teagasc. Those of you who are familiar with previous year's conference may have realised that the format is somewhat different, in that in previous years, because we had the REP scheme was in its ascendancy, we tended to focus on the details of the scheme. This year, of course, with the abolition of REPs, we're taking a broader agenda. We're looking at wider issues of concern to the agri-environment. And I think you'll find the papers and presentations very interesting. The environment is centre stage within Irish agriculture at the present time. Climate change is a huge challenge globally. And within Ireland, of course, we're very conscious that the agricultural sector produces a quarter of all emissions. So naturally, we have to be concerned, on the one hand, with producing food that is in huge demand globally, and on the other hand, minimising the amount of carbon emissions that the sector produces. So some of my colleagues are going to be looking at that particular issue later on today. Also, in regards to water quality, again, with the advent of the Water Framework Directive, and in particular the Nitrates Action Plan, which has direct relevance to agriculture, we are looking at the impact that agriculture will have on water quality. And we believe that it's possible for farmers to maintain sustainable systems that minimise impact on water quality and at the same time increase commercial output and farm profitability. Recently, Teagasc has made a detailed submission to the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food and the Department of Environment in the context of the preparation of a revised Nitrates Action Plan. And these submissions, 21 in total, are based on solid scientific information. And of course, there is sometimes a certain frustration in some circles about the slow pace that science operates at. But we believe that in order for us to have a sustained impact on policymakers and on legislation that affects the agricultural environment, it's important that all regulation is scientifically based. And that has been the motivation for us in preparing that submission. And you'll hear speakers later on today talking about the features of that submission on the new Nitrates Action Plan. But one thing we notice in relation to any environmental matter, also we have a variety of other speakers that are going to talk about other topics that impact on the environment. My colleague Stan Lawler looks at the information available from the Teagasc National Farm Survey in regard to fertilizer usage. And he shows very interestingly, of course, that there has been a significant decline in nitrogen application rates, especially on grazing land. And while this has positive effects as far as the environment is concerned, we have to be mindful of the potential damage it could have to productivity on farms. And Stan is going to talk about the impact that continued reductions in fertilizer could have. We also have an interesting paper, and it's on a relatively new topic of phenology, by Alison Donnelly from Trinity College. And Alison is looking at the signs in nature, I suppose, as to the creeping global warming. And she's looking, for instance, at the delayed budding of plants and blossoms and so forth, and trees, and how that can be tracked as a guide to the emergence of global warming. And of course, it can also be used as a way, as information that can provide us with mechanisms for tackling the onset of disease on plants and so on. And I think that's going to be a particularly interesting contribution. I hope you get the opportunity to look at our website, in particular to examine the various presentations that have been made at today's conference and the interviews that have been conducted with some of the keynote speakers.